I am so excited to introduce you to this phenomenal woman. This is Melissa Reaves, and I'm going to let her tell you more about her, but I am going to tell you this. She has just authored a book that everyone in business and in relationships, which means you, needs to be able to get, that it is a must read. So here is Melissa Reaves, and Melissa, I would love for you to tell us right away what your book is about.
Well, hi, and thanks for having me, Bridget. Yes, I'm Melissa Reaves. I'm based in Seattle, Washington, and I am an executive storytelling advisor and mentor. I work with C-suite members all over the planet in different companies as well as startups, and I help entrepreneurs as well. And what I do is I am helping them learn how to be more captivating in their presentations, because we're not really taught how to be a great storyteller in the world. And so I realize this more and more because in my background, I grew up in corporate America, and I know for a fact firsthand that we are terrible at doing presentations. And I'm on a mission to stop that and to actually bring people more into a space where their audience is leaning in. They're not checking their phone. They're not bored. They're actually listening to you because you're so captivating. And that takes some work. So my book is called The Storyteller's Mind Movie. And the reason why I called it that is that when someone's telling a really great story, the listener can hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, and feel it. And stories are happening all day long in business. And what I normally have seen is that people will start a presentation and they open up with a graph and a chart. And a graph and a chart just isn't that captivating. You need the story behind it to really put heart behind that chart, as I like to say. So I'm excited about this book. It's definitely aimed for professional business people and the entrepreneurial spirit as well. So
beautiful. And I love that you bring out that people remember stories and not statistics. And it really is all about the presenter and the story that they have to tell, so that your remarkable book involves all of that. And you've been doing some remarkable work all around the world. International governments, you do work for Microsoft and Broadcom, and have several new international clients. So this is very exciting. Your book is coming out at a really great time in not only your world, but also human history. And I love how you said that, in business, we're not taught to be great storytellers, but because of a lot of the storytelling teaching you have done, you have a lot of folks who are actually making money with their stories. Would you give us a couple of examples of that?
Oh, yes. I mean, the whole point of storytelling in business is that you are more captivating. And so I have clients that have seen their prospect list go from prospect to closed deals, because just like I said, they're telling me, oh my gosh, people are listening to me. I'm rocking it. Like, people were like raising their hand during my presentation. One woman said, Dr. Noor Ali said, someone raised their hand during her presentation and said, I'm sold, and you're not even trying to sell me. And it was because of her storytelling, and she shared her own personal story fruition, which is also the name of my company. So yes, that's been happening. Also, storytelling for some investors, the entrepreneurs that were seeking investment. I've seen many of my clients going from zero and doors shut on them to $210,000 in 10 days after they showed their video using Story Fruition's method. And then another client, 2.5 million. And then another client, 35 million in Series A. And so I get excited. In fact, that was my first client. That's when I knew I was onto something.
I love that. That's when you knew you were on to something.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you something. So that's when you knew you were on to the storytelling gig, which is great. And that's been a natural thing for you, not just in corporate, but you've also done some additional practice and storytelling from the stage, and you're a fantastic speaker. So I love that you're working with these large companies, that their people can become greater storytellers. And the book has some delicious morsels in it. I wanted to ask you, was there a specific event that inspired you to want to write your book?
Yes, because I thought, okay, I'm out there. I started off just as a solopreneur with this idea that was catching on, and really that started with, okay, I'm a storyteller. I'm actually an award-winning storyteller. I've won many, many contests. I go up on stage and I share very personal stories, like something you might see on what's called The Moth. You go up, they give you a theme, and then you tell a story based around the theme for about 5 or 6 minutes. And it hit me one day that it's like, everything that I am doing on stage can transfer itself into the boardroom. And so that's when I knew, yes, business people need help on this. And I realized, okay, let's do these workshops. And in these workshops, corporations were inviting me in to do a 3 or 4 hour interactive, super fun course where I would teach them the core elements of storytelling. And then book should be doing that too. So now I scale my reach people with the book. So the book is essentially what you would find in my workshop, plus a lot more. And also I have that companion journal that will go with it so that people can actually start to story mine their own experiences in business as well as in personal, that they can weave into their leadership. Because what I am convinced of is that when someone's a great presenter, people are leaning in and they are becoming emotionally connected leaders, right? And an emotionally connected leader is someone who's brave, is willing to show their vulnerability, share personal moments, and that inspires people. And when people are inspired, they want to work for you. They want to stay. The retention can go up. The innovation can increase because people feel like they're being heard, they're being listened to, because a good storyteller is also a very good listener. And it's a two-way interaction. And so the book is designed to reach more people for that. And of course, if anyone reads the book and says, let's bring her in, that would be okay too, because I have a team of coaches that we are now expanding into across the world.
Which principle or situation in the book or teaching element was most intriguing and compelling for you to write about? Like, what did you know, no matter what, I have to put this thing in my book, no matter what?
Yes. Well, when I learned storytelling from one of my very good friends, Kent Whipple, who I adore, what I learned was you've got to show us, not just tell us. And that's where most presentations go. I call it the communication train goes off the tracks, because people tend to, especially like analytical people, they see things in black and white. And if we can't see it, we're not engaging. So we want you to show us what you mean through your story and your case stories, if you will. Let us see the people that were involved. For instance, when I was working with a very large software company, I saw one of their case studies, and it was only about their product. It was like features and benefits, and then a little thing at the bottom saying the client was really happy. And I'm like, we can expand on that. So why don't we talk about the people that were involved in that case study, and what were they like? What were they feeling? What was their problem that they were going through that you came in as the hero and solved? Because that's what's happening. Most of the things that I want to break in the presentation world right now is the problem solution problem, where they go problem and it's a slide with a graph or a stat on it. And then the next slide is solution. That's us. And it's a pie chart. And I just started looking at it and saying, no, what's the story behind this problem? Who's suffering from this problem? Who's frustrated from this problem? Let's feel what they're going through. And then you come in and, like I said, you're the hero. So show, don't tell. And that's also brought out with, using the senses and humor and metaphors. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do in your storytelling growth to have people just go, wow, that was amazing. That was amazing. I mean, I've seen like CFOs incorporate this work into their boardroom meeting, and think about it. CFOs are famous for putting up P&L charts, profit and loss. Let's all look at it. How are we doing? Are we in the black or are we in the red? And most people are like this. When money is emotional, money is what makes the world go around when you're in business, and you've got to know it. And so when we started working together, there was things where we came up with a metaphor. We came up with that the team is all in the same boat together. And sometimes we're in choppy waters and sometimes we're in smooth. And so I'm going to show you through the numbers what's going on. And as she went through her slides, she'd see a dip. And I'm like, what happened there? Why'd that number go down? And she's like, we did not recognize revenue. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And she's like, well, we had this one client who we really adored, and they just didn't have a technical backup that they just didn't plan for. So we had to move the money a few months later. I go, then tell that story. Tell that story when you show that dip. And she did. And when she was done with her presentation, which now had pictures of boats, soft metaphors going on in her slides, she finished. And one of the more stern board members said, that is the best unpacking of a P&L I have ever seen.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. So, Melissa, obviously this is going to be of such great value to people in the boardroom, entrepreneurs, just so many folks who deserve to be able to incorporate those strong pain points and solutions across the board. I mean, it sells everything. It's just this natural phenomenon that you see, but we're just not trained to do it. So finally, there's going to be someone who says, look, I've got all the ways for you to do this and to be successful. And what I love too is that your book is available in multiple formats. So they're going to be able to get it in ebook, softcover, hardcover that they can write in. And then they're also going to be able to listen to it so they can hear the stories, listen for your inflections and things that are most important. And so would you recommend that people buy this in multiple formats, that it be something that they study and that they write in and work hard on?
I want the book highlighted, earmarked, underlined, reread. We put together the companion journal. And in the companion journal, what happens is I provide a lot of story prompts. So it might be, share a time when you were resilient. When did you crawl out of the ashes? Or how about a time where you didn't think you could do it, and you not only did it, but you learned a lot about your own team? Everyone's had stories like that. And so I just want people to just take a look at these prompts and realize that they can start to build what I call their story library, so that they can have a myriad of stories. So let's say an executive is on a podcast, right? And they get asked a question like that, or they get asked, how'd you get into this line of work? Most people answer that question and they do it by running off their LinkedIn resume. That's not what the podcast interviewer wants. They want stories. And so what are those little key moments in your career? What happened? Who were you with? Where were you? What state of mind were you in? And so the journal is going to allow for that self-exploration of your own career, as well as your own personal life too, because there's great stories. If you're a parent, you can use parenting stories to in the work day to give an analogy. There's childhood stories. Some stories that I love to pull out, and I usually start with clients, is I go back into their early childhood, because I have found universally that people are in their careers now, and maybe they're in finance or maybe they're in marketing, it just doesn't matter. And I will find a story in their childhood that indicates that they were already on their path, that they were already there. For instance, my daughter, I think she's a marketer. She's on her way, because you should have seen her first lemonade stand. The lemonade stand had a beautiful tablecloth on it. She had cake trays, and the brownies were cut up perfectly in this beautiful punch bowl for her lemonade. And then there were signs going down the street, posters saying, "The best lemonade stand is in your future. We can't wait to serve you." And people were stopping, and one gentleman said, "Excellent merchandising." I'm like, I have a marketer. I have a marketer. So every single one of my clients has been able to tell me moments from their childhood, and they're fun. They're entertaining. If you are a rising star in a corporation, finding all of your stories throughout your life, including early childhood, that indicate your path, are wonderful stories to have in your story library.
Beautiful. I love that. And I have a little more personal question for you. I would like to know if there was anything in the book that was a surprise for you to write, and what did you learn about yourself through the process of writing your book?
What did I learn about myself? There were times where I felt like the book was writing itself. Have you ever had that? It was like all of a sudden the keyboard was just going, and I was almost delighted at what was happening. There was one section where I talk about, and I don't do this in the workshop as much, so the book does offer other things than just the workshop, but I was talking about life chapters, because those are also story prompts. So I went back to early childhood, and then I went back into your 20s, started giving prompts like your 20s, what is it like? And I started saying things like, first apartment, learning how to pay rent, pretending you know what you're doing, knowing that you don't know what you're doing, and faking it till you make it. Your 30s, your career's taking off. Maybe you're married. Maybe you're for sure not going to get married. What are those stories? And I went through 40s, 50s, 60s. I started cracking jokes. By the time I got to the 50s, I was like, AARP wants to be your best friend. just to have fun. I think my improv background just really played into some of the writing of the book, because improv actually is an amazing skill. So I am a professional improviser.
My ability to hear a story, and even though a person may be meandering, they're kind of moving around, I will double click on something that they said that's vague. Like if I can't see it, or I can't see the person, or I don't understand the relationship that the person's talking to, I will stop that. And once I have all the elements that I know that the mind movie's about to come out, I go into creative flow, and my improv skills take off. I can hear the story and then go whoop and turn it into this very succinct first draft of their story. I have seen clients almost fall out of their chair when they see it, because I will do something that they have never even thought of when starting their story. Started in a completely different place, because where you start your story is actually one of the hardest parts. It's like, what door are you going to walk in on, to start this story? So you oftentimes on film, they'll see me go, hang on. Okay. And then I go and they'll be like clapping. I've had a 62-year-old man cry when he heard his story. And so I'm teaching that with my coaches. So my coaches are also able to do that. We start off like journalists, and then we become storyboard artists. So that's the next step. Once we have the first draft of the mind movie, we then go into storyboarding, which is now the second draft. And what storyboarding does for clients is that it stops all of the meandering. They now know that their story opens in scene one, and they know what's going on and who they're talking to, and they're describing everything that we need to know as listeners. And then they go into scene two, and scene two is usually something happened. So in the book, I teach all that. I teach how to do a story arc so that it has a nice flow, and then we teach characters, relationships, stakes, and where. My coaches do all of that. And then when we bring the storyboard to the client, it's now in draft 3, and then they get to play inside it. They get to, I always know when my clients are rehearsing, because they'll do the scenes, but every now and then there's like a new detail that comes out because they start playing inside their own story. And that's really great. That's really, really great. And then it comes down to rehearsing. It takes work to be a really good storyteller. It takes some work, but it is so worth it. It is absolutely worth it. It's the game changer, because well, until now, no one's really been thinking about it, right? And so Story Fruition and the Storyteller's Mind movie, that's our goal. That's our mission, is to have everyone wake up and think about it a little bit more. Like, you want your career to grow? You want to have more clients? You've got to become an amazing storyteller. And it's not just your verbal, it's also your visuals. So in the book, we go through that a lot. We're like, I see so many slides where they data dump onto the page, and this is what the reader does, or the listener. I don't even know what to look at. I don't even know what to look at. And then they start reading the slides to them. That's not good either. So oftentimes clients are always hearing us say, take it out. Take it out. You can say it. You can say it. There's your story. Add your story. Take out the words. Don't make us read it. You're going to say something to us. We're listening to you. Your slides should not be usurping you. They should be supporting you. So all of that together is what we do with Story Fruition, and what the book is teaching is how to be captivating, succinct, exciting, mesmerizing, and completely awesome.
So, Melissa, where do people find you and where are they going to find your book?
Well, they're going to find my book everywhere. Yes, we will have an ebook that launches on January 26, 2023. I am so excited. And they can sign up. They can go to thestorytellersmindmovie.com and sign up to be on the book fan club and get special offers, because on the 26th, we're going to, for 24 hours, they're going to get a great rate on it so they can get a jump start of it. But you can also, if you want to talk to Story Fruition, you can go to storyfruitioninfo.com, and people will see some of the services, because it's not just, one-to-one story building or story library building. We also help people with keynotes. Maybe they want to step on a red dot with a microphone, right? Or they want their entire team to become better storytellers. That's the corporate work that we're doing. We come in, we do the workshop, and then we do masterminds, where small pods now practice what they learned in the workshop, and because it takes practice. You gotta give it love for it to come back to you. And so you'll see all that when you go to storyfruitioninfo.com, a whole list of things that maybe speaks to you that you hadn't even thought of. Because can you imagine if your entire corporate culture was infused with storytellers? Can you imagine how amazing the C-suite would have in response to their town halls? Because instead of just talking at them, they're actually giving personal or highlighting stories to, highlight a specific employees, who turned out to be a hero, and they tell it really well. They'll just infuse so much positivity, and the clients, they'll want to work with you more. You'll stand out from your competition. There are many, many reasons why this work can change the world. And that's
Yes. And bring it to fruition. Well said. And I'd like to just add one more thing, and that is that not only is this book going to help you to mine your stories from your past, but it also helps you to collect stories from your present day and put things together in such an incredible way, ongoing, building your own story library, that forever you have fantastic content and this ability to communicate in extraordinary ways, bringing that story to the fruition that you want over and over and over again. It's an exceptional book, Melissa. It's just full of fun facts, great details, some of the best present day teaching ever that people are going to need to know. So well done on this, and congratulations.
Thank you. And I really, really, from my heart, invite and encourage people to read it. Because if you are serious about your career and you really, really want to stand out, your presentation skills are essential. I always say storytelling is an essential business skill, and you can do it. The good news, it's coachable.